education evolved. There was a time when teachers would teach the way they had learned with a little regard of the needs of the student. Education is now about empowering the learner not just through style but also through access. The purpose of education has evolved over time. It also differs slightly depending on whether you take the view of society, the educator, or the parents. Parents initially used education as childcare as they moved off farms and into the industrial work environment. Then it was about capability, teaching, providing skills and abilities that would serve them in later life. In more recent times, education has become the tool used to prepare them for the competitive nature of the workforce. Number two, educators used to work on a principle of severity at all times, as they impose a set of standards and behaviors on children. Then it evolved into a focus of imprinting certain disciplines onto a child's brain. The future of education now is what the great teachers have aspired throughout the ages to inspire children to learn and use their talents. Number three, society has a different impacts on education as well. Initially, school was driven by religious interest. Eventually, it became more about government or political interest. And now, it is in the most cases about ensuring our people have an advantage on the world stage. Number four, what's clear is there is no single shaping force and that the parents, the educators, and the policymakers are not on the same page as to the purpose of school. If these purposes were aligned more directly, the framework to make education work brilliantly would be more effective. Teachers can lead this change by embracing the new pedagogy. I'll deliver content at my pace and in my way, and you will learn if you can. I'll adjust how and what I teach so that it gives you the best chance for success. And the last one, I'll provide you with the resources and content you need so you can learn what you need in a way that works for you whenever and wherever you are. I will then make myself available to help you apply that learning in a useful manner. Number five, if you are in the business of educating others, you need to understand the changes and evolve. Doing so will be good for you, good for your students, and is the key to the future proofing how you run an education business as a thought leader. And number six, I reckon all of us in the world of education need to analyze our practices and identify the ways we can improve. As stated earlier, the impact of these changes is not restricted to the traditional classroom teacher role. Speakers, authors, coaches, and trainers all need to analyze their delivery style and assess where improvements can be made. Are you embracing the new pedagogy? Our faith was rewarded in the results for our students. Almost universally, they have learned faster and implemented more effectively under the new model than the old. The impact of our work with them has been massively increased by embracing the disruption, facing the world of education, and making the decision to be at the forefront of this change. If you're in the business of educating others, I invite you to consider the same. How education evolved and was shaped by various philosophies. There are various philosophical foundations of education: Western philosophy, Eastern philosophy, contemporary philosophy, postmodern philosophies. There are four philosophies in Western philosophy. Number one, idealism. The idealism identifies and describes metaphysical perspective which assert that reality is indistinguishable and inseparable from human perception and understanding. Realism in philosophy, the viewpoint which accords to the things which are known or perceived in existence or nature, which is independent of whether anyone is thinking about or perceiving them. Number 3, pragmatism. Pragmatism is a philosophical movement that includes those who claim that an ideology or proposition is true if it works satisfactorily, that the meaning of proposition is to be found in the practical consequences of accepting it, and the unpractical ideas are to be rejected. Number 4, experimentation. Experimental philosophy is an interdisciplinary approach that brings together ideas from what had previously been regarded as distinct fields. There are 7 philosophies in Eastern philosophy. Number 1, Hinduism. Fundamental to Hinduism is the belief in a cosmic principle of ultimate reality called Brahman and its identity with the individual soul or Atman. All creatures go through a cycle of rebirth or samsara, which can be broken out by spiritual self-realization, after which liberation or moksha is attained. Number 2, Buddhism. Buddhism is one of the world's largest religions and originated 2,500 years ago in India. Buddhists believe that the human life is one of suffering, and the meditation, spiritual and physical labor, and good behavior are the ways to achieve enlightenment or nirvana. Number 3, Confucianism. Confucianism is one of the most influential religious philosophies in the history of China, and it was existed for over 2,500 years. It is concerned with the inner virtue, morality, and respect for the community and its values. Number 4, Taoism, a Chinese philosophy based on the writings of Lao Tzu, advocating humility and religious piety. Number 5, Zen Buddhism, a Japanese school of Mahayana Buddhism emphasizing the value of meditation and intuition. Number 6, Christian philosophy. A Christian philosophy includes all philosophy carried out by Christians or in relation to the religion of Christianity. Christian philosophy emerged with the aim of reconcile science and faith, starting from natural rational explanation with the help of Christian revelation. And last, number 7, Saracen philosophy. Saracen in the Middle Ages, any person who professed the religion of Islam. Earlier in the Roman world, there have been references to Saracens. There are 5 philosophies in contemporary philosophy. Number 1, perennialism is a teacher-centered educational philosophy that focuses on everlasting ideas and universal truths. To clarify, perennialism suggests that the focus of education should be the ideas that have lasted for centuries, believing the ideas are as relevant and meaningful today as when they were written. Number 2, essentialism, a belief that things have set a characteristic which make them what they are, and that the task of science and philosophy is their discovery and expression, the doctrine that essence is prior to existence. The view that all children should be taught on traditional lines and the ideas and methods regarded as essential to prevalent culture. The view that categories of people such as women and men are heterosexuals and gay people, or members of ethnic groups, have intrinsically different and characteristic natures or disposition. Number 3, existentialism, a philosophical theory or approach which emphasizes the existence of the individual person as a free and responsible agent determining their own development through acts of the will. Number 4, progressivism. Progressivists believe that individually progress and change are fundamental to one's education. In a progressivist school, students are actively learning. The students interact with one another and develop social qualities such as cooperation and tolerance for different points of view. Number 5. Social reconstruction. Social reconstructionism is a philosophy that emphasizes the addressing of social questions and quest to create a better society and worldwide democracy. Reconstructionist educators focus on a curriculum that highlights social reform as the aim of education. Connections between educational philosophies and teaching profession. Philosophy of education is the branch of practical philosophy concerned with the nature of education, as well as the philosophical issues that can arise from educational theory and practice. The major philosophies of education can be divided into three main types. 1. Teacher-centered philosophies. 2. Student-centered philosophies. And 3. Society-centered philosophies. A philosophy of education refers to the examination of the goals, forms, methods, and meaning of education. The term can be used to describe the fundamental philosophical analysis of these themes and analysis of practical pedagogical approaches. Its subject matter includes both basic and philosophical issues, such as the nature of the knowledge that is worth teaching and learning and the state of educational justice, as well as the problems concerning practical educational policies and practice, such as standardized testing or the social, economic, and legal implications of school funding. Teaching profession is the key of importance in the system philosophy of education, educational methodology, and in particular its scientific method, take an integrated system and apprehend in the view of scientific principles of philosophical cognition, play a major role in practical activities of teachers. The essence of methodology is defined in philosophy as a web of general premises of cognitive and teaching activity. Philosophical sources use various approaches to what is united and marked under practice. All activities are divided into two forms: material and production activity or object transforming activity. The most important one, as it has the most influence on social relations and personality formation, and social, historical, or social communicative practice, thus revealing metamorphosis implication of different activities which are primarily based in universal principle of practice as stable and permanent in the chain man nature. Teaching practice as a continuous dynamic system, each stage of which has its own permanent determinants, later on acquire new professional features and should be situated at the intersection of two equal, mutually intersecting, and at the same time independent practical activities, materials and production, and social communicative. That said, the set of teaching practice is formed through intersection of general characteristic of such sets as material and production practice and social communicative practice, which lead us to bringing teaching practice to the category of philosophy, and in particular philosophy of education, to defining it as a concept and category of philosophy of education on the basis of analysis of dynamics and genesis of practice as a universal of human existence. Educational philosophies and teaching styles are two aspects of adults' learning that influence the teaching-learning transaction in colleges and universities. The educational philosophy can inform the educator with strategies and methods for implementing adult learning principles. The study of teaching style is important because it assists educators in designing a positive learning experience for students. Currently, the primary focus of educational philosophers is on the concept of education itself. Traditional view of it as a process and result of studying in schools and higher education institution is gradually replaced by a view of education as a wide range of all kinds of experience which influence the growth and development of an individual during older life. Important role of informal, spontaneous learning in the content and method of human education is being understood. Limits of human ability to learn, study, and perfect through science have not been determined yet. Limits of the rate of learning are also not known. A man has unique, as compared to other known creatures, ability to modify their reactions and way of interaction with natural and social environment in view of accumulated experience.